Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee and your tea, or your tea, not and, unless you are a two-fisted drinker, and sit back and let's chat about what is happening up in the stars above. It's hopefully a great day for everybody. It started out sort of sunny here, but now it's looking more like it's going to rain. Such is the way of spring here in the Pacific Northwest. And we are sitting here today in preparation for what will be tomorrow morning's new moon. Morning for me here on the West Coast, 10:39 a.m. tomorrow morning, 1:39 p.m. for those of you sitting on the East Coast. And those of you in between can figure that out. And universal time for those of you in Europe puts it at 5:39 p.m. for those of you there. And yes, this should be a really good new moon. Interesting because it has a lot of connections. Mercury, being the ruler of the new moon, is also quite busy. So we're going to talk a bit about what the new moon is. There's a lot of messages and ideas and inspiration that may be coming up for those of you out there now who are, you're feeling kind of maybe excited about what's potential, what's coming, or what you could possibly be doing, or gosh, who knows? It could be coming from any direction, but it's not quite yet time to take action. And that is also something to be careful of here, is that when we have something new that's approaching with a new moon right here on the horizon, we want to hold space a bit, do some completion work, and wait for that new moon, which will occur, like I said, tomorrow. So that puts today with the moon in Taurus and not making that many connections. There is indeed a sextile to Neptune today and a trine to Pluto. So we do have some movement going on with the moon out there up in the sky. But again, not a whole lot. This is one of those days this week where it's a green day on my calendar anyway. It's painted in green, and that usually tells me that there is something like some good movement going on out there. Let me take a quick look over here and say good morning to people. J-Lo, good morning. Amy, good morning. Terry, good morning. And Ursula, good to see you. And Mimi, good to see you as well. And hopefully all of you are having a good day. I love all the little emojis with the hearts and the faces and the sunshine. Love it, love it. Laura Hammer, good morning to you as well. And all right, so let me just get my self-promotion out of the way. If you like this video or you like me being on air, please hit the thumbs up. And also, if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button just down below. And that helps me in the end. And everybody's saying hello to everybody. I love it when you guys do that. It's so good. All right, so let's go and talk a little bit about what we can expect with the new moon. I'm going to break the new moon down today because Fridays we like to do readings. Last week we didn't get to because I wasn't on air. And so I want to save time for that tomorrow. So I'm going to get the bulk of the new moon information out today. And then tomorrow we'll talk a little more about what the new moon looks like as far as human design is concerned, and also what the new moon looks like from the Pleiadian-Earth energy tomorrow, which we'll talk about tomorrow anyway. So that's awesome, right? But also tomorrow we'll talk more in depth about the three connections that are happening. One is Mercury in a conjunction to Venus retrograde for tomorrow, which we're already feeling today. The sun in a trine to Saturn, which we'll probably start to feel today, but also tomorrow, and then Mercury in a square to Neptune. So we'll talk about that mostly tomorrow. Today now, let's talk about what it is that we can expect. First of all, let's talk about the new moon itself, because I think it's always worth reminding everybody what these phases of the moon represent for us. So right now the moon is in what we call a balsamic phase, and it means she's winding down, right? The moon has, since the new moon in Taurus, which was, I'm not even sure what day that was. It must have been April 22nd or 23rd. And since then, the moon has gone through the first quarter of that phase. It went through the full moon phase. We've been through the second quarter, and now we're winding down. So we're coming into the end of her Taurus excursions, I call them, right? The the time that she spent teaching us different things about the energy of Taurus. And now in this particular spot that we're sitting in, we should be coming into a real completion, or finally seeing that there's a new pathway opening up. We're preparing for the moon's move into Gemini energy, which is going to give us the Gemini experiences, right? So it might be messages that we are receiving. It might be ideas that we're receiving. We may have more places to go, more things to do, more socializing to take place, to take part in. And we are preparing then to be able to move forward into that more Gemini expression of energy, even though the sun is already there, right? And as we talked about yesterday, the North Node is there, Venus retrograde is there, Mercury is still there. But now we have the new moon coming up. So as we are, winding down today, we're also maybe in a thought process of what comes next, right? What do we do next? How do I implement these great ideas? Where do I go? Who do I want to be with? Who do I want to do things with in my business, perhaps? What kind of opportunities do I want to take advantage of, et cetera, et cetera. So we're all getting prepared for that eventuality. Then when we get to the new moon, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with preparing for the new moon before we get there. But we don't actually take action on any of our new moon intentions until after the energy of the new moon, i.e. 10:39 tomorrow morning for us on the West Coast, 1:39 p.m. for those of you on the East Coast, 5:39 for those of you starting out in UTC time zones. So what we do is prepare. What we don't do is actually go through the ritual or the celebration of the new moon until actually we have that energy with us. And what does a new moon ritual look like? Well, that can be completely unique to how each one of you want to do that. Essentially, it's a time for setting intentions, right? It's for what is it that I want to manifest? What's coming up for me? What opportunities do I want to show up with in the world over this next 30-day period of time, or so, 28.5 days, actually, 29 days, I guess you could say. And how do I set those intentions? So that's what the new moon ritual would bring in, is the intention setting. How do I want to word that? Because it's very important that I set that intention, and that I actually am setting an intention that I intend on living out, right? That I want to manifest something. So the new moon sets up that ability for us to set those very powerful intentions. And then remember, what we focus on is what we're creating. So if we focus on the fact we don't have anything that we really want, then that's what we're going to get more of. But if we focus on being open and inviting in the opportunities, the relationships, the money, the whatever it is, the more work, then that is opening us up for receiving those things. Remember, this has been a week where we've been really focused on that idea of working for money or working for prosperity, tapping into bounteousness. That was the great word that we had for the week. And being open to then receiving those things. So the moon in Gemini, then, if we look at the sign the moon is in, we get an idea of how the energy is lining up. And we can almost design our intentions around the energy that the sign brings us. So for example, in Gemini rules motion. And I know that often when we talk about a Mercury retrograde, we talk about how the transportation can get messed up, besides messages going astray or our technology having issues. There is this component about transportation that shows up with Gemini energy. And it's restless energy. And right now we've been sort of in this space of quiet and lockdown and can't go do what we want to do. I was driving into town yesterday and I was thinking how nice it would be just to follow the road and go to some other place. And then I thought, yeah, but when you get to that other place, what is there to do? Right? Everything should be still closed up, at least here in Washington. It might be different in other states. But if that's the case, then why go where I want to go? And that feeds into that restless energy. So maybe it is time for us to see, well, what it is that we can do within the parameters that we have laid out in front of us. In fact, I'm guessing that the sun in a trine to Saturn tomorrow is also telling us that same thing, that there are pathways that are opened up for you. Let's move that way, right? Move in that direction. But it does, have that restless component to it, which you might be feeling as well. And maybe one of your intentions could be to be able to see a pathway to use that restless energy in positive ways. That's always a good way to do that, right? Gemini is also a sign that is about learning, knowledge, and information. So it is about finding facts and figures and just information. It was funny because I found myself yesterday, I always find myself doing this because this is also about, teaching, right? There's the teaching component as well. And my neighbor was at the door yesterday, and I don't know why I started talking about this, but we just started talking about geology, and she, didn't know some of the things that I was talking about. So it was kind of funny. I put teacher hat on. So we may all find these opportunities for ourselves coming up to be the teacher, to be able to help somebody, learn something or sharing of information. And it doesn't have to be facts. It can be all kinds of fun stuff that you just want to share. I was shared this opportunity. My neighbor in front of me is actually a teacher, and I had given her some DVDs of dance lessons because she's having to teach online. And I said, wouldn't it be fun for the kids to learn, a dance routine? So I gave her some videos that I had on, it was Beachbody. What in the heck was it called? Size, where they're actually teaching you routines. And I thought kids would just enjoy that. So there's all kinds of opportunities to share information right now and to bring out new ideas, etc. So if that is something that interests you, follow your curiosity into those things and then bring those things out, right? Share them. The internet is also ruled by Gemini, surprisingly, not surprisingly, I mean. And any time that we spend checking out information on the internet. Yesterday, I was also downloading some videos. Ursula, you'll know this, that shamanic astrology series of webinars that were going on. I actually purchased the all access pass to that so I could listen to all of them when I wanted to, because most of them that were so interesting, I just wasn't available at the time to be able to listen to. So, following your curiosity, I don't know what it is I'm going to learn, but something called to me in that. So I was excited about that. Communication, reading, writing, speaking, listening, and teaching are all part of this Gemini experience as well. Effective listening, right? Effective listening. Why effective? Because sometimes we're hearing, but we're not really listening. We have that in our human design as well. The gate 13 is often a gate where we really need to listen instead of just hearing what people are saying. And when we tap into that, it's amazing the connection that we find with one another. Communication, also understanding different opinions and learning how to be okay with whatever opinions other people have, and not to try to make other people wrong or make yourself right. Actually, by definition, if someone else is wrong, then aren't you right? And instead looking at how there are kernels of truth, grains of sand that are all connected to make the beach, right? So that everybody's opinions matter. It doesn't necessarily make yours incorrect, but being able to bring all of that in. Gemini is also a sign that rules the logical processes of the mind. And this is where we might get into some trouble over the next month as we try to look at everything logically and in sync with, we have to try to open our minds and see maybe connections in a different way. And remembering in our human design, we have three ways of knowing. We have intuitive, we have knowingness, and we have logic. And one isn't more powerful than the other. Some of us in our human design may have more in the logic channel, or we have more in the knowing channel, or we have more in the or circuit, excuse me, or more in the intuitive circuit. But it doesn't mean that it's any more valuable or that the other is any less valuable. So in this case, logic, yes. And remembering that it's not holistic to think that we only can be logical, that it leaves out this other part of us that knows much more. So in this case, then being clever, getting inspiration, being ingenious in the way that you put together ideas. All of these things are part of the Gemini new moon, part of the Gemini focus, with all the planets that are hanging there at the moment. Social skills and being sociable, also a part of Gemini, learning tact, being accepting of oneself in the group and the group, quick thinking, being in the moment, being witty, just having fun, humor, a sociable nature, acting more social. We don't have to necessarily get together to be social. We can do that online. We can do that from a distance. Always mindful of that stinking little virus that's still out there rolling around. When we look at relationships with Gemini, we see that it's usually that 1 degree of separation. We talk about, if you have 6 degrees of separation, you come to someone who knows the same person that you know, kind of thing. And in Gemini energy, we're talking about the 1st degree maybe of separation, where we get to our siblings, maybe we get to our neighbors, or we get to our roommates, or the people that we went to school with, and those relationships come into view during this period of time. It's interesting because during Gemini, there's often or that time of, it's the graduation time of year, it's the Father's Day time of year, so we're getting together anyway for these kinds of things. And then as well, a lot of reunions, class reunions take place in June during Gemini, where we have this opportunity to meet back up with our schoolmates from years past. So relationships are basically that 1 degree of separation where we're kind of our environment, the people that are in that environment with us. In the body, Gemini rules all the twos, right? The 2 hands, the wrists, the arms, the shoulders. It rules the lungs, which we have 2 of, the nervous system, and hay fever. Yay for me, because I've had that like anything for the last couple of months. It's been driving me crazy. Overactive mind. Gemini rules the mind. So maybe the new moon intentions are for quieting your mind, right? Letting go of some of that excessive questioning. Remember, yesterday we looked at the human design chart, and I said, for those of you who had an open head center, that you're often questioning how, when, why, what, where, can you prove it? And that excessive questioning is also a Gemini trait. Being superficial, only glossing over the top of something rather than looking more holistically or with more depth. Nervousness, indecision, also a part of the more crazy experiences that we might have, the more negative experiences of that Gemini energy, being scattered, losing focus, feeling a little bit like ADHD. So you may set an intention to be able to have more focus on a project and to relieve your restless energy through taking a walk or doing some kind of physical exercise, whatever it is, that is within those sort of areas of life are where very powerful intentions can be set for moving forward with something. All right, so I'm going to take a look and see how people are doing out there, if there are any questions. Camilla, good morning. Augustina says, hi, we're neighbors. Love from Uruguay. Camilla's in Brazil. So we have the South Americans here today. Hallelujah. Hello to you. Debbie Hedden, good morning. Elisa, good morning. Jennifer Peachy, great to see you. Jeremy, good to see you. How can I tell you my birth chart? Jeremy, if you would like to go to my website, www.living-astrology.com. Hey, maybe I can type that in here for you. Then you can request your human design chart or your astrology chart, and it will ask you to share your birth information with me, so we can do that, and I can send you a chart. In fact, I have 3 to do this morning, so I'll be already doing it that. So go there, living-astrology.com, and up at the very top, you can see my email address if you want to do it that way, or scrolling down to a little bit lower on the bottom, on the first page, you can see the place where it asks for your birth information and email and all that. So thanks for asking for that. I love sharing charts with people. Good morning, Marissa. She says, after tomorrow, I will be the mom of a 7th grader. It's a new milestone and tradition for our family. Wow. And let the fun begin, right? Middle schoolers, they are quite interesting. I went through 4 of them, and now I'm doing this with grandchildren, and it's so amazing to watch that transition from that child state to the young adult and all of the fun that comes with it, you know, the rebelliousness, which you may already be experiencing. So it's kind of as they, you know, begin to spread their wings and want to fly. They want more independence. They are friends. Don't be upset when they could care less about you anymore. It's all about their friends, because that's just a typical phase that they go through. Nothing personal. It's just the way it goes. Remember back to your days as being a 7th grader. Debbie Hedna, Gemini reflector, you described my life almost daily, constantly working. And you got to put some constantly playing and working and being busy, but you also have to find time for rest and relaxation and just downtime, because reflectors do not have sustainable life force energy, Debbie. So you need time for rest and relaxation to recharge your batteries, as it were. So there we have that. All right, let's talk about the Pleiadian-Earth energy of the day, because we've come to 8 loving today. And loving in in the Mayan calendar was Lamont, the star that represented Venus. And have you been looking at the night sky and noticing how Venus is getting lower and lower to the horizon? In fact, is it tomorrow? It is, yes, tomorrow, where Mercury and Venus conjunct. If you have a fairly clear view of the west, whatever direction that is, that would be the northwestern sky. Northwestern? Yeah, northwestern or due west sky. Take a look and you'll see Venus and Mercury in a conjunction. You might be able to see it tonight, even as they're getting closer and closer. And then tomorrow is the Mercury-Venus conjunction, but they'll be very low in the horizon. So I don't know that I'll be able to see it, because unless I go out to the beach, I could do that. Because the trees, of course, they block a lot of the lower horizon for me here. But if you have that low horizon open, go look and see Venus and Mercury in a conjunction and connect with the meaning of that particular energy. It is the heart and the mind in a conjunction. It is the bringing of aligning of the mind and love, and, you know, even looking at what is it that you're focusing your thoughts on. So it is all about love, 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 and more connection. When we look at the energy, the universal energy of the 8, which is the number of in the infinity symbol, right? We see that where the 2 circles cross, we consider that to be the heart, right? The heart connection, and or the soul connection. You could call it either heart to heart, soul to soul. But it is where, when we look out from our position, we can see our mirror image in the other. And when we look at each other from that perspective, then all of our differences all just sort of come in and make us unique and more, there's more to love of each one of us when we are comparing ourselves as reflections of one another rather than in differences from one another. We might feel a whole lot richer on days like today, maybe not just in money, but richer in our connections, in what we have, in our values, in our love, in our homes, whatever it is that makes you feel good. Today's one of those days where it could just be a full, good day. In Mayan times, there was a greeting that, and the greeting was also sort of like aloha, where it was a greeting, or it was also what you would say when you were leaving. And that saying was in Lakesh, which was a sort of recognition that the soul in me recognizes the soul in you, or the light in me recognizes the light in you. And that is how they would greet one another, or how they would leave one another. And I just feel like this is the perfect time for us to adopt that kind of an attitude, a day like today, and even going into this new moon, where yes, we may have differences. We come from different backgrounds. We're different races, different religions, different political leanings, but we can still have this heart to heart, soul to soul connection. And energy like that today reminds us that that is who we are, that we are loving people, Loving is the earth energy of the day, and it is positive, it is uplifting, it is enthusiastic, optimistic, even looking down the line. We see a better world. We see we have the silver lining kind of thing. But there's also something that happens unique to these days, the 8 days or the loving days. And that is, it tends to bring up oppositional energy for us to be able to more fully integrate those things, to create harmony in our lives. And or we see that it can create more conflict through our judging of others or blaming others, getting into victim energy. So it'll be an interesting thing that we see today, that perhaps we're going to see people that are playing in the victim energy. We might see people that are being judgy, and it may even be us. We may find ourselves creating conflict, or a conflict coming up. But what are we to do with that? Well, we're meant to sit back with that and look at how it is that we're really something's being reflected to us from that situation or from that person, that is a call for us to become more loving, either to ourselves if we're judging ourselves, or to the other person if that's who it is that we are trying to become a judge, jury of, right? So being able to move through any kind of conflict by creating harmony and cooperation, using love to be able to extend to people, instead of that conflict energy that can create that pathway to victim energy, that then is where we can't seem to cooperate, or we find ourselves in a competition. Here, this day is about honoring all perspectives, right? All people, all perspectives, and really seeing how we are the reflection of one another. All right. It's a great day. The Pleiadian calendar to me is like just amazing in how it brings us to this elevation in our consciousness and moving forward that way. Asa, good morning. Looking at the planets in the sky like that is a very shamanic way of looking at astrology. And you know what I do? And I know I've shared this before. I have an app on my phone, and I'm going to get the real name of it because I always forget what it is. It's called Star Map 3D Plus. And when you open it up, you see this beautiful, I got to go back to Zoom for a minute. You see this Star Map 3D Plus. Wow, look at all the fingerprints on my screen. But then you get to see the sky. So my phone right now is pointed at the star Altair. Is that right? Well, if I turn it my way, it's not going to show me that. And so if I bring it in, you guys can see, it'll show you the actual constellation that the camera is pointed at. And if I could see, other than the sunshine being out there, I would see that I'm pointed at the star Altair. And if I pull it back, what else is under that? Dang it. What does that say? Jupiter. So Jupiter is that way. There's Capricorn, and that's got to be probably Pluto, even though it won't tell me. We can't see that, obviously, but this is a great app. And you just point, and it tells you exactly what you're looking at in the sky, even if it's daytime, right? Even if it's daytime. So you can find, oh, where's the dog star? Where's Sirius? Or where's this star or that star? Okay, anyway, that's a total side note, but I love that app. And it does help me connect. Even when I can't see, now I know if I needed to, I could go look that direction, and somewhere out there is Jupiter, even though I cannot see it with my eyes right now. Okay, I managed to get through a lot of information here very quickly today. So I'm going to depend on you guys to ask questions. And what is it that people might want to take a look at in a chart? I do want to have two last little things to share, and that is about the moon today in Taurus in a sextile to Neptune, and also in a trine to Pluto. So we have some pretty powerful energy helping us align and to clear out some of the emotional clutter we might have, but to also bring in unconditional love. When I look at Neptune, I often, there's always the facet of Neptune that's sort of unclear or foggy, or it brings us into illusion or disillusionment, where we just don't see clearly. But when we allow our hearts to do the steering and not our physical eyes or our minds, Then we end up with Neptune, unconditional love. We follow or get steered by our, what I would say is our identity center, our ability to connect from the soul, from a level much deeper. And so with the moon today in a sextile to Neptune, it's much easier for us maybe to call up love energy or to be in connection spiritually with one another. The trine to Pluto may indicate that there are some powerful transformational energies moving through you, and that may be experienced through issues that other people trigger in you, or maybe you are acting as the provocateur, the trigger for somebody else today. But if so, again, applying love to every situation. Remember yesterday, only love is real. Everything else is not real. It is just a figment of your egoic mind. And another teacher once said that everything that's not love is a call for love or for more love. So when your people are acting up or when they're in conflict, it's really a hole that someone is feeling within them that's not filled with love. And that is what they're looking for. They're calling out for more love and helping them in that way. If you help people from that perspective, then it puts a different spin on conflict for sure, because the conflict is born out of not feeling loved or not feeling included or inclusive in the joy and the love of the world. So Marissa, would you be able to look at my chart at Gemini in my third house? I want to make sure I focus my energy in a positive way for the new moon ritual. Absolutely. Let's do that. First, Marissa, let me get your chart up here. And you know what? I'm going to show you guys something else that is real easy for you to look into. And some of you may know this and others of you may not. So I'm going to share my screen. So what you should be seeing here is a personal daily horoscope. This is my go-to site. First thing in the morning, I'm going to go to the home screen here. Hopefully that changes and you see that. First thing I do in the morning is I come here to astro.com and I go over here to the chart of the moment. And that's how I get the information about what the chart looks like. So I pull a chart up and it looks like this, right? And then I write all my notes all over it and squiggleize it and, just mess it up. But I like to have something to write on. And so I pull the chart and I print it up. Now, you can also do that for yourself. If you go to My Astro up here at the little top corner here, that My Astro is going to give you access to being able to add in your own astro data if you have not done that already. And when you do, if you click on your chart, I didn't mean to click on mine. I meant to go to Marissa's. Let me go back to My Astro. And I'm not sure if I have you a Stanton or Ma Stanton, so I'm going to start with M and see if I can find you there. And did I miss you? There you are. So you would click on your chart, let's say, and then what happens is it brings you back to the home screen. Now, somebody let me know, are you seeing the changes in my screen? Because I'm not sure if you are. It looks to me like you might be seeing the changes in my screen, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. So let me go back to what I was trying to show you. So you come here to this screen, and here's where you can do several things. One, you can go to the extended chart selection. You can create your own chart. And if you do that, you have a lot of choices, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But they also have this free horoscopes thing over here. And you can go to your personal daily horoscope, and if you do, it's going to give you the main feature of the day for you. So Marissa, since I have you in the queue here, today is week transient effect, heart over mind. And it's going to tell you the interpretation is for your moon conjunct Jupiter. And it's going to tell you what time it's exact at 4:24 p.m. this afternoon. And it's active from, today's the 21st, from today until tomorrow. And if you read through this, you get an idea of what's going on for you. And every Thursday, you see these links here that are all in blue. Every Thursday, you can go and get the extended view without having to pay for it of all the things that are going on. So here's all the transits that are occurring for you today, Marissa, as far as the moon is concerned. It squares the sun. It's in your second house. It is trining Mercury, trining Mars, and sextiling its natal placement in your chart. But if you look here, you see important long-term influences. Pluto opposition the moon, whoo, big one. Pluto conjunct Mars, another one. Jupiter squaring Chiron, Mars in the 12th house, Mercury in the 3rd, Venus in the 3rd, Sun in the 2nd. So let's just choose Mercury in the 3rd, since we're also going to have the new moon probably in your 3rd house or 2nd house. And if you look at this, it says valid during several days. It gives you this information and tells you how long it's activated for. So Mercury is in your 3rd house from May 16th until May 30th. So you all have access to this. Now, let me just give you a little bit of a piece of warning here, is that these are not, well, this is actually set for her at the moment. So this is about her personal chart, but it's not taking everything in the chart into context here. It's just looking at what does Mercury in the 3rd house mean. So it knows, the program knows based on your chart that Mercury is transiting through the 3rd house, or will be, or is, from May 16th until May 30th. And it's going to tell you what that means. But it's not taking into effect all of the other things that are going on in your chart. So, but it does give you a really good idea, a good opening to understand maybe the energy of the day for you personally. So there's that. And everybody can do that. You don't have to be an astrologer to set up an account. You just go to astro.com and you register your, just like anybody else, any other website you go to, you get a password and a login, and you then enter in your own birth information, and there you have it. Now let's go back to the home page so I can show Marissa how to get it, or get all of you how to get the chart up. And we're going to go right here up to My Astro. And I'm going to choose, was it still on you, Marissa? I'm going to go back anyway, just to choose again. Marissa is Moss Stanton. We're at the very bottom. And we're going to click on Extended Chart Selection, which is going to bring us to how we choose the chart. Now, I already have mine all set up as far as the parameters that I like to use. And I don't think I want to go through all of that, because I think right now that would confuse you too much. But I'm going to look right here at the chart type. It defaults to the natal chart. I'm going to drop the menu down, and you'll see you have a ton of charts that you can choose from. And I'm just going to go to the natal chart and transits. And I'm going to make sure the date is set. Actually, see you're in East Coast time, so I'm going to go to the 22nd and set that. And the reason I'm doing that is because we want to look at the new moon. So hopefully, and I'm not sure if I have this set for your time zone or not, but options, I don't need any different options, and the rest of these things are all set. So I'm going to click here to show the chart, and voila, here comes her chart. And if you click on the chart itself, it'll bring it up on the whole screen. So Marissa, now we can take a look. I'm going to zoom this in a little, and I'm going to show you where Gemini is. Gemini is a sign that looks like the Roman numeral 2, and representing the twins, right? The twins are the sign for Gemini. And what we see here is that the new moon is going to be at very early Gemini. It's at 2 degrees. So technically speaking, the new moon is going to be in your house of money. So, and you see that because here's the sun. The sun is at 1 degree some minutes at this point, 1 degree 22 minutes. And it's going to be at 2 degrees for the new moon. So we know how close we are. And you can see the moon is right here and the sun is right here, and they're coming together, or the moon is moving into the sun. And they're actually going to be sitting in that money house. Perhaps there's a new opportunity for you for an income. I believe, this is money that you would earn. So maybe money coming to you for places you didn't expect, maybe new job opportunities, maybe a raise, maybe just something new that you're buying. But the new moon is opening up for you in the 2nd house of money and earning power. Now, the 3rd house, though, is where Mercury and Venus in retrograde are in a conjunction, and also where your North Node is transiting through. And the 3rd house in your case, by birth is empty. There's nothing here. That doesn't mean there's nothing going on. It just means that we have to look to the ruler of this house to get a clearer picture of what's happening. And it is Mercury that rules your third house because it's Gemini. And if we look for Mercury in your natal chart, we're going to see that it is up here in the 10th house. And so we have a 10th house expression in the third house, if that makes sense. So in the third house, it is about the mind, it is about learning, it is reading, writing, teaching. And we may see then, because the 10th house Mercury natally is about the workplace, what kind of work you do, that you may find some new openings to change some of the work that you're doing. Maybe it's more writing, maybe it's more speaking, maybe you are going to learn something new, a new skill, go to class, go to school, take up a new form of study that is going to aid you in the expression of your career and your profession. And or if that's something that you've wanted to do, then setting the intention for not only that opportunity to come to you, Marissa, but also in this case, the money to be available for you, or the reasoning behind it that you're gaining more income would be very beneficial for this new moon. So with destiny swinging through here also, that those incidences of opportunities are going to start to pick up. It just transited over your IC when it was at the early parts of Cancer. So you're transitioning out of the home life focus and more into the work life, social aspects, networking, internet, teaching, learning, all that kind of mind-centered thing. So I guess for you, this can also trigger the more negative aspects of that Gemini energy, which is nervousness and also anxiety, and even that idea of scattered energy where your focus is everywhere. So what do we do when we're getting too scattered? We ground ourselves, we make a list, we make sure that the most important things are getting done, and that's how you can manage yourself during this period of time. I see this as all really very good. What's opposing that third house? In your ninth house, you have Neptune. So that it's not engaged with those planets at the moment. I think maybe you've come through a period of time, maybe where there was a lot of crazy stuff going on in your head, maybe a lot of confusion. I don't know what to do, but that should be squaring up right now. Maybe triggered a bit as Venus moves retrograde further. But again, this is short term. And so hopefully you've gained some clarity through this process that we've just gone through. Let me stop sharing my screen for a minute and go back over here to YouTube, see how everybody's doing with that. Marissa, yes, you can focus your energy in the most positive way by understanding it's not all about your mind. Get out of your head. Angela, good morning. Popping in for a quick bit. So busy here. I'm so happy for you that it's busy. Remember to take care of yourself, though. Augustina, as a Gemini, I can't function without my to-do lists. And I don't know about you, Augustina, or you, Debbie Hedden, or any of the rest of you out there who are Geminis, or even Libras and Aquarians. I tend to carry this running to-do list in my head. And I know sometimes that trips me up because I may have forgotten something like, oh my God, I'm supposed to have a reading here in an hour. I better hurry up. But I often do that. And I wonder sometimes if that isn't more of a source of stress for me, because it's in my head and it's easier than to forget something. So when that happens to me, if I remember to do this, I keep a whole thing of scrap paper here next to me, like tons of scrap paper. And I can bring those scrap papers out at any moment and make a list, right? So when it gets too full up here, that's what I do. But that Gemini mind is so powerful, and I can carry all kinds of information in my head. And it's not necessarily the right thing for me to do, but it does happen. And that list, yes. Marissa, oh yeah, this Aquarian has lists on her phone. Yeah, I don't know. I don't do this. I try lists, but they are very helpful. Let me just say that. They are very helpful when you have a lot going on. My tendency is to want to carry the list around in my head. I don't know if that's a good, bad, or ugly thing, but sometimes it blows up on me. So that's when that paper becomes very helpful. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'm going to take my leave here. You're welcome, Marissa. She keeps a creative list. I love it. So true. Augustina says, yeah, that idea of holding those thoughts in my head. Yikes. Oh, anyway, I always wonder too, because I have an open head and open ajna. I wonder how much stuff is just slipping through that never to return because I can't hold it on, all of it. It's funny. Post-it notes are a lifesaver. I have those too. I have an entire bucket of them, a little bucket in my drawer here that I use periodically, and other times I don't. Here's one funny story. The other, what was it? Last week, I was watching a series of videos on organizing how to write a book. And you guys know I'm working on this. I have been working forever on. I have written all kinds of them, but never gotten any of them out. So now I'm trying to be more organized in my way of doing this. And I went to this video, and this woman had this like whiteboard, and on it were all of these different colored notepads, like, post-it notes. And I got so into the color. I was like, oh my God, it's like a rainbow on her whiteboard. I could never do it. I would lose myself in the color, in the creativity of it all. So I don't know if Post-its are a good thing, Laura. I think maybe one or two or three, but, and yeah, you're right. It's colorful, but so distracting, right? When you're looking at it. I mean, I have this double door closet right here that sometimes doubles as my wall for mind mapping, and I'll tape a piece of paper up there and do that. But if I filled that up with those different color pieces of paper, I don't know, but if that works for someone, do it, right? Do it. If it helps you go organize your thoughts in your head, do it. Amy Energy. So here's my idea. I'm going to share it because maybe then you guys can hold me accountable, because that's my Achilles heel. I'm writing a series of, it'll be a series of books. Right now I'm writing about Venus retrograde, and then I'm going to go into Mars retrograde, and I'm going to release each of them as separate, as reports perhaps, or books, and mini books at the beginning. And then I'm going to bring them all together. So a book of all the retrograde planets. So I just thought Venus was a good one to start with, since it was in my face right here at the moment. So that is what I'm doing. I'm working on a series of books about the planets in retrograde, sort of a survival guide. How do I get through Venus retrograde? How do I get through Mercury retrograde? How do I get through Pluto, etc.? All of those. Marissa, Post-it notes were overwhelming me because they were everywhere. I could not keep track, and I cannot hold it all in my mind. So Marissa, for you, whatever works, lists on your phone, or, creating. The reason I do, when I get my head too full, why I like these individual pieces of scrap paper, is I can write my list, and then I can check things off. And at the end of the day, it goes into my recycling bin, and I'm done. Hi, kitty. So the recycling bin is my friend too. It feels good to be able to recycle a piece of paper that has this checked off list of things that I got done. That always feels good. Amy, I love that idea. Yes, indeed. But again, help me by reminding me periodically so that I get that I actually do it. I actually have the first 2 chapters done, so it is worked on. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Tomorrow, we will go through some more of the new moon. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the new moon, and it's going to be happening in gate 20 in your human design. Gate 20 is on the throat center, so it really becomes a super manifesting kind of new moon. In the Pleiadian-Earth energy, we will be at 9 feelings, so there's an emotional component to the day. And we also have, like I said, Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde, the sun in a trine to Saturn, and Mercury squaring Neptune tomorrow during the new moon. So we'll want to take a look at all of those things, as well as a quick look at the weekend ahead. I can peek right now and tell you, well, it's going to be, we have a 3-day weekend coming up too. Should be a good weekend. And also we'll do some readings tomorrow. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, thumbs up if you like the video, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Take care. Much love to everybody. Bye for now.